Welcome back to the Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgety, Season 2. This season, we are expanding the conversation, hearing from mental health experts, professionals from different industries, and people in the sports world about how they take care of their minds, handle challenges, and build the mindset to thrive both on the job and in life. So, grab a coffee, get comfy, tune in, get inspired, and let's dive into some fascinating conversations. Remember, your mind is super powerful, and with the right tools and knowledge, you can master your mental playbook. And while you're doing that, take care of you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgety. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I feel like our Q&As are fun. I'm on the hot seat, so I asked Erin, occupational therapist and psychotherapist that works with me, to get in the hot seat today. And I'm going to ask her some questions. And like Lily does to me, she doesn't know what any of these questions are. And we're just going to have some fun with it. When Lily and I do it, it's often, we have like warm up, first half, halftime, that kind of thing. And we're going to do it something like that, but a little bit different, because I like to change things up a little bit. So Erin, welcome back. Erin has been with us before. We've done some OT segments, some workplace wellness segments, all of us, well, not all, the whole team, but group of us, right? So Erin's, she's not a newbie to the Mental Playbook, but welcome back.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
I'm sure.
We're just going to have fun with it. I'm not going to ask you anything that's too personal or anything. I'm not going to pull a Lily. She doesn't ask me anything too personal. She just gets me thinking.
Yeah.
And she pulls me out of my comfort zone a couple times, and then after I'm like,
yeah.
All right. So this is game day round. So whenever I before the Blue Jays or something, I always check out the game day, and it shows who the pitchers are, it shows all the stats and stuff like that. So I like player stats.
Yeah.
This is going to be kind of your player stats.
Okay.
But not like number stats, okay. So don't worry.
Oh geez.
I can see all of that. So what made you choose occupational therapy?
Oh, I think I liked the thing that drew me to it the most would be working with people, but also just the creativity aspect and just helping people in their day-to-day lives with whatever it might be that they're struggling with.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, the sun just came pouring in the window as I'm staring at you, which is always welcome, but a little bit blinding. So, well, I may not be able to see you right now, but that's okay. So one thing that I know is, when you first started with us, obviously I've worked with OTs in my career, and I had an idea of what OT was, what an OT, occupational therapist, OT, does. But if you had to describe OT in one sentence to someone who has no idea what it is, because a lot of people have no idea what it is, what would you say?
Oh gosh. That's a good question. You're making me think already.
Yep.
How would I say this? Occupational therapy helps people overcome barriers to live a meaningful life.
Good one.
Oh, okay.
Look at you go. Yeah. Impressive. All right. Because truly, it's everything, right? There's mobility things, there's fine motor, gross motor things, ergonomic, mental health. It's, yeah.
Yeah. It's anything and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What's one misconception about OT you wish people understood better?
That we don't just help people get back to work. I feel like that's the biggest one.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've had people reach out, and Kyla. Kyla will say, we have Erin, she's an occupational therapist, who practices the scope of psychotherapy,
Mhm.
and they say, well, it's nothing to do with work,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
occupational,
Yeah.
we automatically think that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. What's your why? What keeps you in this field? Other than working for like a fabulous boss.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's up there on that list. My why, I think, like I kind of have two. So one would be like I love like connecting with people,
Mm-hmm.
and just love like hearing their stories and kind of meeting them where they're at. But then it's also those like celebrating those wins with them. So when a kid or an adult comes back and they've like applied a strategy or they just feel like they're doing well and they just like are so excited and you just like see that
Mm-hmm.
in them. It's just it's super, just
So freeing for
yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say those are two of the biggest ones. Like I love connecting with people and I love seeing people achieve their goals and win at life.
It's funny, right? Not funny, haha, but like funny, interesting, in that we talk about dopamine as motivation.
Mm-hmm.
When we get that dopamine rush in certain things, it makes us want more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we get a dopamine rush
Mm-hmm.
when we see our client
Mm-hmm.
succeeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes us, it becomes a why. It's not
Yeah.
that that's why we do it, so we want to help people, but
Yeah.
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 All right. All right. So game day's done. See,
Okay.
that wasn't too
All right.
hard.
No, that was
that hard?
Yeah. No.
All right. And then we're going to, round one is like the playbook. We're going to set up the plays.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
It's all about the fundamentals of the playbook.
Okay. Okay.
I'm so creative.
I
Right?
like this. Yeah.
What does a typical day look like for you?
Oh my gosh, I feel like every day is different. Typical day. I mean, I feel like mostly I see kids.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like getting ready to, I feel like I have depending depending on the client, like I'll either set up like different activities or different ways, like some, things that I'm going to do with them. But I would say, typical day, come into the office, look at my schedule, see who I've got, and then start to kind of plan and prep and then see clients as I go, and kind of a whirlwind, and then before you know it, it's over.
Yeah, recently my son said it to me once before, but I said to somebody, I'm like, the past few weeks, it feels like I get up Monday morning and then all of a sudden it's Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Right? Or like I wake up Monday, or I wake up in the morning and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm like, what just happened?
Yep.
But when we're busy like we
Yeah.
are, it tends to go
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some signs someone might benefit from OT but doesn't realize it? So what are some signs that people might be exhibiting that they may benefit from OT but they don't even realize it?
I would say anybody that's struggling with something that's impacting their like day-to-day functioning. So if it's something that they're struggling with, like getting maybe certain things done, like it could be their self-care routine, it could be work, it could be school, or something that they're just not even realizing is like that there's like a possible like explanation for why it's happening. So like kids that might be struggling at school, one thing that I've been noticing a lot recently is like the impact of like sensory sensitivities, which is a big one that people tend to like not realize. So like the lights in a classroom or the excess noise or just like the overall stimulation of being around so many people. And that kids then start having behaviors and people just like kind of miss that part. So they're not, so it's like connecting those dots for people and them understanding why certain things are happening and why it's impacting their ability to do certain things.
For sure. One thing that like adult clients that I see who experience anxiety, disordered anxiety, they'll often say, yeah, I can't go in. There's too many people in Walmart or Costco or like the big box stores. I can't do it. And I always say to them, okay, also with the stress response, your pupils dilate, your hearing becomes, so it's sensory stuff too, right?
Yeah.
And we take all information in through our senses.
Yeah.
So if it's overwhelming, it's like too much information.
Yeah.
So it's echoey and it's bright and there are a lot of people, but there's a lot of distractions. So, but people don't realize the sensory part of things.
Yeah.
And kids can't say,
No.
I mean, adults can't sometimes,
Yeah.
but like it comes out of kids communicate through behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that's a big thing that's missed is people just focus on the behavior, and I'm always asking, okay, well, what's going on before the behavior comes? Like, what are some of the things in that we're noticing, like environment wise or like just other things happening? And there's usually always explanations, which is where then you see like parents especially getting those like light bulb moments of like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And then they're able to like connect it to other things that they see that same behavior happening, like, you know, when they go to the grocery store or when they go like somewhere. So,
yeah, those sensory things aren't as prevalent, like not prevalent, that's not the word I want, but like when a child can't stand tags on their clothes or that kind of thing, then parents are like, oh yeah, bothers them, it's a sensory thing.
Yeah.
But things like lighting and another big one is automatic toilets.
Yes.
Because they're not in control and that loud, and it's echoey in public washrooms. That was one that I had a lot in schools and stuff too, was like kinders or grade ones or whatever were terrified of, and it was the sensory, and they're not like for regular toilets, if noise is a sensory thing, okay, when you push it down, it's going to make the noise. Yeah. Sometimes you're still sitting on the toilet and it goes off.
Yes.
So if you're little and that's going off, you're going to think you're going to be like sucked into the abyss.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, like that, you know, even like the temperature of the toilet seat. Have you ever sat down on like a cold toilet seat? Like, some kids just don't.
Yeah, I'd rather sit down on a cold toilet seat than I know them.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's fair. That's fair. I was just thinking that in my head.
I'm just being me. Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, no, just like all of those like things that, people don't think about, and then they just see it as like, you know, maybe the kid refusing to like use the toilet, or, you know, the kid continues to have accidents, but it's like, okay, why? Like what's going on? And so, so there's different things that, you know, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there, you know, a lot of people worry, like, worry is maybe not the best word, but a lot of people think that there's something more going on. But I think all of us humans, regardless, we all have our own sensory preferences and, you know, sensitivities. So I think it's just a matter of like understanding, you know, all the aspects of a person, and then, you know, helping them to like overcome, you know, whatever that might be. Like sometimes it's the simplest strategies that make all the difference.
Yeah, and kind of not off topic, on topic, but sidebar, because we were talking about HRT before we started today, and perimenopause and everything, and a sensory thing for me, a calming thing and everything, was always to sit in front of my fireplace, have like a big comfy sweatshirt on, and big baggy sweatpants, and just like, and then as I got older, perimenopause and stuff, I couldn't do that because I was so freaking hot, right? But like hot, like feel nauseous hot. I know we joke, oh yeah, woo, right? But no, it's and I couldn't. That was a different type of sensory. That was like a calming sensory thing for me, and I couldn't do that anymore. Now I'm on HRT and I can again, and it's like, like I get home from work, or on the weekends, I have these track pants that are really big and baggy and a big sweatshirt, and I just like sit here and, you know, and I can do that now. So I think sensory stuff goes both ways, right? It's like calming sensory, and then
100%.
Sensory
like sensitivities or avoidance?
Maybe. Yeah. What's one small change someone can make in their daily routine that could improve their mental health?
Ooh, so hard to just pick like one. You know what, actually, I'm going to kind of like connect this to something I've recently started doing. So I was never a big reader, but I've recently become a reader. And honestly, I feel like if like one thing is like finding, and it can be the smallest thing, but something that brings you just that little bit of like joy, calm, like just something that you can kind of look forward to each day that helps you like unwind. And just like, you know, after a long day, like I look forward to just like going home and like, even if I'm reading like 5 pages of my book, it's just like something that's just like enjoyable. So it's like just finding that one thing that, you know, and yeah, like people sometimes think that it has to be this like big hobby or something. Like it can be a little list of things. So, but I think that's where a lot of people, you know, especially I see that with like parents, their identity and all of the things they do become what their kids do. I'm like, but everybody needs to have just like that one thing that is their own. Yeah.
For sure.
So.
For sure. Yeah, like I've talked on here many times. AirPods in, making breakfast, dancing in the kitchen, singing at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my brother goes to work earlier than me because I don't know if he lives next door, if he can hear me or not. But I don't think so, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And then the one time I was dancing in the kitchen and everything, and I looked over and my neighbor's behind, they're like in their 80s, and he's sitting in his recliner like watching me, and I was like, oh, jeez. But then whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like stripping in my kitchen or anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm just dancing, but something just simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Looking at pictures at the end of your day or something.
Yeah.
So in Ontario, occupational therapists, so there's 5 colleges, regulatory bodies that can practice the scope of psychotherapy, but can't call themselves registered psychotherapists.
Yes.
Only they can say, the psychotherapist, excuse me, they can say psychotherapist but not registered. And
they have to use their they have to use, sorry, I was saying OT, because OT, but they have to use their OT title, or like if it's a social worker, they have to state that they're a social worker before they can say psychotherapist.
That's right. And so you're a registered OT that practices the scope of psychotherapy. So what would you say is one of the biggest differences that you find between occupational therapy and psychotherapy?
Who asked me this question the other day? It might have been like Rachel or somebody.
Oh.
Somebody just asked me this question the other day. It's a good question. I would say it depends on the population I'm working with. I feel like when I'm working with kids, a lot of what I would do is very similar to what a psychotherapist would do with kids. But when it comes to like the older population, so like adults and then older adults, it looks very different. But I would say the biggest thing I find is that when it comes to like occupational therapy, it's much more, it's hard because there's so many overlaps, but I feel like for OT, it's really much trying to like immerse yourself into all of the different aspects of somebody's life, and almost like trying to figure out where they're struggling in their functioning, even if they maybe don't realize it. So if somebody comes to me with like maybe a specific, like a kiddo that comes because they have like they're struggling with like emotion reg, but it's like, I will assess kind of all aspects of them just to see if there's maybe something else contributing.
Sensory?
Yeah, right. Like sensory, or maybe there's like they're struggling with like I've had lots of kiddos recently that have done testing, and it comes back that they have like a learning disability in a certain, whether it's language or math, and so it's like understanding those aspects, and that could be contributing to their emotion reg. So it's kind of like pulling back all of like the different layers and understanding, whereas sometimes I find with psychotherapy specifically, it's really, obviously like mental health based, but I find it's like you're not always so much looking at that aspect. I feel like you're diving into people's like histories, like, so talking about their childhood, or like their earliest memories of like something, or what, that kind of thing. But yeah, like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's like, it's more with OT, it's more the catalyst to it, or whatever baseline to it is more like operational kind of thing, like not operational, what am I thinking, like a concrete sensory, or
Yeah.
whereas psychotherapy is history and experiences and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would say like OT also like that functional aspect
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like and that we're looking at all components of a person, like not just their mental health, but also like physical, because sometimes with kiddos it's like they may come in with like a challenge with like handwriting, so then I'm like not just looking at their fine motor skills, but also like how stable is their core, what's their seating like at school, like because that all contributes to their handwriting, right? So or even just things like their attention, right? So we're looking at like all of those aspects, versus like somebody who comes for you know, like maybe specifically anxiety, and we're focused more so on that and like understanding like obviously how that impacts their life, but like, you know, helping them like build their toolbox and strategies to manage that. So yeah.
So this just popped in my head when you said about handwriting and like core and everything, because half the time I'm like leaning over. But do you have any adults now? I don't think you do at the office, but you may read articles and stuff on it, but where handwriting is becoming more difficult. I hate handwriting now. Like, because we text and we type so much.
Yeah.
When I used to have really nice handwriting,
Yeah.
and now I like don't even finish words.
Yeah.
And stuff, like I just kind of, you know, and I'm like, oh, I just want to dictate it. I don't even want to text or type anymore. I just want to talk into it. But do you find that like that fine motor kind of dissipates too?
Yes, I think
Use
there's
it or lose it, right?
yeah, I think so, because I think what we're seeing, so see, this is a kind of a bit of a predicament that I have, is that when working with kids and they're struggling with fine motor, it's finding that balance of, you know, obviously we want to put things in place to help them so that they can, you know, do what they need to at school. So often that's speech to text or using a computer because they're faster at typing. But then it's like, I don't want them to not still be working on developing the skill of handwriting. So like I'm saying, yes, let's put these certain like accommodations in place to help them so that they're not struggling at school. But also the hope is that they're working on those other skills so that they don't, because again, yeah, kids will, if they don't work on it and they're just using speech to text typing, they will eventually like just not handwrite. And then if they're put in a position where they have to, that skill is just like not there. So yes, I you know, yeah, the more that we use it, the stronger it becomes. And then if we stop, then and then sometimes
it
it
just
does.
popped in my head. Because I'm like, oh. And I used to like journal and like write, and now it's like I look at it, I'm like, I don't even know what I just said. Right? Because we're doing, and then I'm getting even to like I'll be texting with my friends or something, and then I'm like, ugh, and then I just hit the microphone because it's
Well, it's like that with anything, right? It's like one of those things, like even like learning to ride a bike. Like at some point, obviously you learn how to ride a bike and it's like in your brain. But like, let's say you haven't been on a bike for 10 or 15 years and you get back on one, it's going to take you a second to be like, okay, what am I doing? And then once you get going, then it gets a little bit easier, but it's still like that. Yeah. Like if you're
the muscle
not,
memory that happens. Yeah. And I don't think for me, I think I'm lazy. I'm not a lazy person at all, but at that, like I get lazy with that because I'm just like, oh. And I even find that when I write too much now, my hand hurts. That just might be age. Maybe that's like arthritis or something, because I do have arthritis in my thumb. So maybe my grandmother told me if I cracked my knuckles, I'd have arthritis when I was older.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Don't think that's why it was, but
yes.
All right. So moving on, round 2. These are like real life plays. Okay. So it's like case style kind of discussions.
Okay.
What it actually looks like day to day.
Okay.
So obviously, without sharing identifying details, what's a moment in your work that really stuck with you?
That's a good question. Oh my gosh, I feel like I have so many.
And it doesn't have to be with us, because you did have, you worked elsewhere before us, but...
I mean, I feel like there's been so many. One that I will say that I feel like stuck with me that just popped into my head. It was having a client who, and this I would say is a very common thing that happens if a client experiences, any kind of like a concussion or any kind of like brain injury, whatever like the like mechanism of that is, that tends to get overlooked, I would say. So I do have a client who did go through something that, my first question when chatting with parents was, well, did they talk about the potential of some of these, like the impact that this had on the brain, and that is, anything that happens to the brain is, a brain injury. It obviously varies in severity, but, and that was one of the things that I feel like, one of the things that stuck with me was that the parents like felt like they were actually being understood and like heard, because that was something kind of in their mind that they were like, how could this happen? And then nobody really talks about how this could be connected, and it could be sort of the lingering effects of like a brain injury, as opposed to, trying to explain it away by it being like ADHD or something different. So I feel like having that connection with that, like that session with that parent, like those parents, and like talking about that, they actually felt like they were being heard, and they were glad to know that that was kind of where my head was going, and the way that I was approaching it with the client was more from like a brain injury perspective, as opposed to thinking that it was like ADHD and she needed to just be on like medication. Not that that's like within our scope, but like sometimes that's like the route that people go. So I feel like that that sticks out to me, because I that's one of the important thing to me, is when people feel like they're being heard and understood, and that their concerns are being addressed. So yeah, that was like a really good moment. Obviously there's so many more, but that was one that just kind of stood out in my mind. Yeah
You really hit on a good thing there with like concussions and brain injuries, and because the thing, like a stroke even, right?
Yeah.
I have a client who had a stroke over a year ago, and I saw this person this week, and they were like crying and saying, like, I cry all the time. Emotional dysregulation can happen from a brain injury, from a concussion, and people don't understand why the person's like so angry or so weepy or whatever it may be. And so looking at all of those things for sure.
Yeah. Well, and again, like the symptoms, you could kind of maybe explain them by, because we do see those parallel with like ADHD, like the emotion dysregulation, the attention difficulties, etc. But yeah, it just was, again, given like what had happened, I'm like, to me, in my like professional experience and what I know, I feel like I would rather target it from like a brain injury perspective and like manage it that way, and some of the strategies are helpful for, somebody who has ADHD as well, but I just feel like,
of course,
given like all the information that I know, it's just kind of like approaching it that way. So brain injuries are still, which is interesting to me, but they're still not well understood. Right? Like, especially like, in the situation of somebody having a stroke, it's like, okay, medically, like they're stable, like the stroke is, gone or whatever that is, but it's the after that people are kind of left to to figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, and it's hard for them.
Yeah.
What's something clients struggle with the most when it comes to daily functioning?
Do you mean like from an OT perspective? Yes. Okay. What do they struggle with the most? I feel like routine. I think
That's what I was gonna say.
Because I think that's one of the things, like, I feel like I talk to people a lot about too, is like just the different moments in their day. What does their routine look like? And I feel like people struggle a lot with that, like maintaining a routine, or even knowing how beneficial having a routine can be. I think I would say routines.
And the other side of it, not having flexibility within that routine.
Yes.
Right? Like they're so structured that sometimes life happens and
Yes.
coping
Yeah.
decreases
Yeah.
if their routine. And I think what goes with that too is like time management and stuff
Yes.
too. I see that often.
Yeah, no, definitely the time management piece. And then I would also say people waiting for that motivation to hit
Yes.
to do it. So
Yes.
it's like, you know, and they're just kind of, they think they're just waiting for that, like, you know, oh, okay, now I'm going to want to go do it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, because I think that's such a big part of human nature, right?
Mhm.
There's so many things out there that you see. It's like, no, put the fancy underwear on,
Yeah.
right? Or eat the cake, or
Yeah.
because we're always waiting for Monday
Mhm.
or the start of a month, which human nature also is like natural starting points and breaks, but
Yeah.
we keep putting it off because we're not motivated,
Mhm.
or we're trying to find something to motivate us, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's just about living is enough to motivate us.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we don't do the things.
Yeah.
How does burnout show up in people you see? So let's focus this on children. Let's do that, because I've talked lots about burnout with adults, but I worked with kids for,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't work with kids as much now, but I worked with kids for 30 years, 28, 29 years.
Yeah.
So I have my idea, but how does burnout show up in kids in your,
Like how do they, like how would I know if they're
Yeah.
like burnt? Yeah.
like, yeah, what are the
Yeah.
symptoms and stuff?
So I would say,
Can kids actually get burnt out? Like, I've never heard that.
oh,
So
that's a
do.
good question.
Interrupted,
Yes,
but,
yes,
Like, I was just
yeah.
like, that could be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a good question.
My answer is yes, because I've seen it. But what do you,
100%, yes. I would say the most common thing that I notice about kids, if they're getting burnt out, is, so, I mean, a couple things. So one thing I would say is if they're really just not wanting to engage in something. So sometimes like kids, like I've had a few kids where they'll just say to their parents, like, you know, and it's not like I don't want to go to school necessarily because they just are like wanting to stay home and play video games. They're like, they're trying to express to their parents that they feel like they need a break, but they don't have like the words always to like say that. So it's kind of like that refusal to do something, but they just almost like, it comes across as like they're just almost like having like a bit of a breakdown, but it's it's not so much like this, like, you know, stomping their feet sort of like toddler tantrum. It's like a exhausted, like just depleted, I don't want to do this. And then the other thing I would say is that if you notice like changes in their like personality or like how they present, so maybe they are a little bit quieter than they normally are, maybe they're a little bit more emotional than normal, which is like maybe they're breaking down in tears a lot easier, or they're just like, you know, maybe they go to like a friend's birthday party and they're just a little bit more reserved, not really wanting to participate or engage, you know, complaining that they're tired a lot more, just not really quick to like, you know, get up and get going, even in the things that they enjoy doing. So a lot of that kind of, you know, those activities that they normally would be like super excited and willing to do, they're like kind of pulling back from. So those would be the things that I notice the most.
Yeah. Or sick. Every
Yes.
time something comes up that
Yeah.
they're supposed to do. And I think that we don't think that kids get burnout because of their energy and their activity. We need to put them in a lot of things. But I've had a lot of clients, children, or teens, youth, who the parents, I mean, especially nowadays, I mean, I played a lot of sports and everything. My parents never forced me to. We all wanted, well, they didn't force us to, but it's kind of like if you're a Dalgety and don't like sports, it's like, huh? Sorry, Danica. But she likes watching it now, but she didn't really play sports or anything. And her father was a phys ed teacher, played all sports, still plays hockey and everything. And yeah, the only anyway, she won't care if I say this, but she got the only B she ever had in her life was phys ed.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to like have a heart attack. But anyway, but I see young clients that they're in like every day of their week is hockey and indoor soccer and piano and gymnastics,
tutoring.
and they have something every day of the week and on the weekends.
Yeah.
And so, and like on the weekends, hockey practices are at 7 o'clock Saturday and Sunday, and so
Yeah.
there's no sleeping in for them, and you know, and then all of a sudden they're withdrawing from it. They don't want to do it anymore. They're sick every time or they have a headache. They're melting down.
Yeah.
They're burnt out.
Yeah.
Even children need down days and that kind of thing. So plus they have school and homework on top of it. I used to always tell teachers, and I know it wasn't always a popular opinion, but I have very many of those that people don't think are popular, but they're especially kids who struggle in school. So they're like working so hard all day to focus, to concentrate, to get their work done, to understand things, and then they go home to their safe place and they have to do 2 hours of homework, and the parents are trying to help them, and so they're not going to lash out at the teacher, they're going to lash out at the parent.
Yeah.
It starts fights at home, you know, and it's stressful all the time. So
Yeah.
if you have that, and then all of the activities,
Yeah.
so you have 2 hours of homework, but you have to be at the arena at 5:30 or 6,
Yeah.
and you're home at 4, like,
Yeah.
and then you get home at 7:30 or 8, but no, we didn't finish our homework, so we got to get up early tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Burnout.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing I would add into that too is like, I don't know how much people know about how kids mask at
Oh,
school.
yeah.
So even just that too, like, I've had a lot of clients that talk about just even like the social pressures at school and like how you're supposed to be, and even that kind of conflict, more so like, well, I would say actually younger kids too. I was gonna say more so teenagers, but I feel like I'm seeing it even younger too, where, maybe they want to express themselves in a certain way, but there's those like social pressures where they feel like they can't. So it's like they're going into this environment and they're having to be a certain way. So yeah, when they get home, they just are in their safe place, right? But then yeah, you're running from like here to here, and then yeah, they're going to a sport, so then they have to get into that kind of mode, and then so it's
Or
like
an
when
activity,
so it's like when are kids able to just like be in their safe space and just like
be a kid.
be themselves and be a kid.
Be a kid?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, we played a lot of sports and everything, but Saturday mornings we'd get up and it would be cartoon Saturday, and we'd make ourselves honeycomb,
Yeah.
and mom and dad would be in bed and we'd eat honeycomb or
Yeah.
sugar crisp
Yeah.
and watch Bugs Bunny and all the cartoons and just
Yeah.
have a relaxing, that was every Saturday. No, that's not true, because sometimes, yeah, we did have hockey or ringette or something
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, but it was spaced out and it wasn't, and, last week the podcast was on mental health in the news,
Oh yeah.
and it might not necessarily be news, and it depends on the age of the child, but they're also taking in all of this stuff on social media and the internet and information, so their nervous system isn't down either,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just like ours isn't.
Yeah.
However, our brains are fully developed.
Yeah.
So sorry, folks, I'm getting it all into the neuroscience again, but our brains are fully developed, and a child's is not. So if it's hard for us to wrap our brain around what's happening and and we're kind of perseverating or ruminating on it, children, they don't have the development of their brain, the capacity sometimes to understand, or
Yeah.
if we can't understand that this is happening across the world and our nervous system says it's happening to us, children are really not going to understand that.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them are getting that information
Yeah.
too.
Well, I even would say like my nephew, like Nate, he asked me one day, because I think his teacher does like a little at one point in the day, like what's in the news, which again I have my opinions on that. So, but he had come to me and asked me about, it was a while ago, but I think there was like a shooting at a beach in Australia or something, or New Zealand, whatever that was. But he had come to me and asked me, hey, like my teacher told us about this today, and then had so many like follow-up questions for me about it. Yeah, so again, obviously, like, I'm thinking too, like, how long was he, did he ask his teacher any of these questions in class? He probably didn't.
Sorry, just a second. Whenever I get emotional, I get a hot flash. And that is, I'm not okay with that. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. So then how long was he sitting with this in his mind? And then he came and asked me those questions, and I was able to kind of, I mean, my first response was kind of like, why is your teacher talking about this? Which, yeah, anyways, but yeah, so yeah, like, that's a good example of like how, yeah, kids become aware of something, and then but kids are very, I find, like, their thinking is very black and white, so they think like, oh my gosh, this happened, is this going to happen at our school, right? Like, they just, and then their understanding of certain motives of why people do those kinds, it's just like they can't comprehend it. So
100%.
yeah.
And I don't want to get canceled, but I don't care if people don't like this. I'm sorry, but I disagree with the teacher doing that 150%.
Yeah.
Because of what we know with the brain development and the information that they're receiving. And your nephew is 11?
11. Mm-hmm.
11 years old. And he would be those children would be absolutely okay with never knowing that happened in Australia.
Yeah.
They don't need to know that. And it's not about hiding them from what's going on hiding them from what's going on in the world and that kind of thing. It's protecting their brain development, their peace, and what we know about brain development. And they get enough of that information online to have it at school. And I do know situations, because kids have told me, or parents have told me that, and I'm not bashing teachers, but where they share things, their opinions about politics, or what's going to happen if certain people are elected and stuff like that. And I had kids, I'm just going to say it, in 2016 when Trump was elected, I had children, because I was still seeing children then, and I was in the school system then still, coming to me crying, terrified, because their teachers told them beforehand that if Trump got in, we'd have World War III and it would be horrible. And yes, there's war going on right now and stuff that is not, but they did not, that is that teacher's opinion. So I'm sorry, I might go on a tangent with that kind of stuff. Kids don't need to know that, and that's not good for their mental health at all.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, this is a lighthearted
Sorry.
podcast. But I could not hide my reaction on that. I mean,
No, that's
I think that's up to the parents to talk to their children about if they choose to.
100%,
Right? That's my take on it. And if parents are choosing not to, then that's what they choose for their children. And I would go on, I always say, explain things to children in a way, I say that when it directly impacts the child or what's going on around them, explain to them, be honest, in a way that they can understand. So how you would tell an 11-year-old you wouldn't tell or how you would tell an 11-year-old you wouldn't say the same way to an 8-year-old or whatever, right? But that kind of information, not okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Yes.
So that's how burnout can happen
Yes.
in kids.
I almost forgot what we were talking about for a second.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I need to regroup here. What's one thing people think will help, but actually doesn't? I know what I have for this
Avoidance.
one. Yeah?
Is that what you were thinking?
No, but that is true. Yeah.
One question I think I get from parents a lot of the time, actually just got this one not too long ago, was a client that was struggling with, like, was just, and again, this was kind of like looking at it, where my client had gotten like a new swim instructor, had moved to a different group, so had a new swim instructor, some new kids in the group, and the parent had said to me like, oh, they just seem to be kind of struggling, should I just like pull them out and not make them do the last 5 lessons? And I was like, no, let's like try to like see how we could kind of like work around this, and like try to talk to them too about how all of those like changes could be contributing to them being a little bit, so we came up with a little game of like, why don't we see if we can find out like one fact about our new swim instructor or something, or what would be one question you'd want to ask them. And so then it was kind of like this, that focus was more on like this exciting kind of like, oh, let me see if I can find this out. Because I said to my client, like, what would you want to know about them? They listed like 5 different questions. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, find out one of those things about your swim instructor next time you go. And so then the focus shifted from being like maybe uncomfortable or however like the client was feeling in that time to, okay, now I have this like task. I'm going to go into it and I want to know the answer to this question. I was feeling excited about that. And then their parents did not have to pull them out of the last 5 sessions, and they went, because I feel like pulling them out is, we're kind of avoiding the uncomfortableness, and like, that there is going to be change and there's going to be things that happen that we can't always control, and then it's like adjusting to it and helping them build that resilience around it. So
I was just going to say that, absolutely, yeah. Working through things builds resilience. And because I see adults more, I was going to say devices, and I don't mean electronic devices, because escape and avoidance is number one behavior for anxiety and mental health issues, stress, and adults often use escape mechanisms, right? And so many times people who smoke will say, I need to quit smoking, but it's stressful right now, I need to keep, and so I remember somebody in my personal life who was trying to quit smoking, and then they were like, no, it's it's stressful. And I said to them, okay, so the parts of the brain actually increases, like it activates, it stimulates, right? But what do you do when you are stressed and you need to go have a cigarette? Do you do it in the house? Oh no, I go outside. Oh, so you go outside. Yeah. And are there a lot of people around? No, I'm just there by myself. Okay. So you're by yourself and you're out in nature, kind of. Yeah. And then what? Well, I take a drag in, and then, like, so even though you're bringing in all the toxins and stuff, you're taking a deep breath in and then you're blowing it out.
Yeah.
And you're by yourself out in nature. How about you keep the cigarette in the box and you go outside into nature and you stand on your deck or whatever, and without the cigarette, you take those deep breaths in and out.
Yeah.
And it was my son. And he was like, yeah, okay, whatever, Mom. Because what does Mom know, right? But it is true, right? It's not just, I think that we get ourselves to believe that these things, because they trigger dopamine, they trigger, which is why they can become addictive, but they trigger those parts of the brain. We think that we actually need them to calm. But if you went outside and took some deep breaths and you're in nature and you're by yourself and you're, Anyway. All right. Round 3.
Oh gosh.
This is a rapid fire. It's a shot clock.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's the shot clock. So the shot clock is on. No overthinking.
Do you know who you're talking to?
But these ones are just fun. They're just
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
They're kind of like a this or that, but then I have another this or that will have an explanation. But all right. Quick fire.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning routine or go with the flow?
Morning routine.
Structure or flexibility?
Flexibility.
Gym workout or walk outside?
Walk outside. Although a good gym workout is nice too. So.
Yep. Paper planner or phone calendar?
I feel like I don't use my phone. Well, I mean, I guess computer calendar. Does that count?
Yeah,
electronic
calendar.
electronic calendar. Okay, electronic calendar. Yeah.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
You didn't get it all out. Silence or background noise?
Silence.
Work from home or in office?
In office.
It's kind of hard. Well, no, I guess if you do online.
Well, no. Even if I have
And
yeah,
then you come in.
I always tell Kyla, I'm like, I come in because I feel like I'm,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the zone.
Podcasts or music?
Podcasts.
Multitasking or one thing at a time?
One thing at a time.
That's actually what you should do. So, all right. So now round 4 is this or that OT edition.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like strategic.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So it's this or that, but explain your play, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
routine versus spontaneity.
Routine. And then you want me to explain why? Okay. Routine. I feel like, I mean, obviously there's like, having spontaneity is good, but I would say routine so that you have kind of like a foundation of what you're, just to make you feel more organized, reduce stress, that kind of thing.
All right. Rest versus push through.
Rest.
It's emphatic.
Rest 100%. I feel like I'm a huge advocate for work-life balance. Again, I always kind of say to people, sure, you could push through, but then how are you going to feel after? You're going to have to be resting, but then also trying to rest more because you pushed through. So I'm like, if you rest now, you're going to be actually probably more productive. And then I tell people, like, take breaks and actually take breaks, like check out from what you're doing. Don't just like, which I'm guilty of this, but when you're taking your lunch break, don't just like sit at your computer and answer emails and do like stuff, because you're not actually taking a break. So yeah, but yeah, rest rather than pushing through. And there's not really anything that's that important that it can't just like wait.
Yeah. I'm a Gen Xer and you're a millennial, so we have a different way. No, that is what you should do. Gen Xers have a really hard time with not pushing through because we grew up with that's a badge of honor.
Yes.
The boomers taught us that, right? The boomers raised us, and suck it up, buttercup, push through, keep going. And that if you did that and you were like, that meme where there's the dog and it's like all frazzled and it's like, I'm fine, I'm fine, everything's fine, right? It's kind of like that for us, but I mean, I'm much more, my work-life balance is a lot better than it used to be. Motivation versus discipline.
Discipline.
She's like fast with these.
So I feel like a lot of things, like I feel like motivation is just this like, I don't know, it's not that we don't like get motivated to do things, but I feel like people are just like waiting to feel that like they think it's this like surge of like energy that they're gonna get. But I think if we have that discipline of like setting goals or like, having a list of things that we want to accomplish and then just like taking those steps to get it done, versus waiting for this like, I don't know, kick in the butt that people think is going to like happen. Yeah. But I always say to people, like, you can kind of almost like, not really trick yourself, but like, if you have to do something that you don't necessarily want to do, like maybe like house cleaning tasks or like it's tax season. So people are, helping people a little bit with like that, getting that done. It's like, well, reward yourself after with something that you enjoy. So like, get it done what you, don't really feel like doing, but get it done and then do something you enjoy after, to kind of reward yourself. So
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
Productivity versus presence.
Presence. I feel like I feel like when you're more present, I don't know, I feel like that's more productive in itself.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I think being present and aware and in the moment is more productive than just focusing on productivity.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing. I feel like in our line of work too, like if I was focused on, okay, we have these goals, we've got to get this done, da 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 da. But then maybe like clients show up and like, of course I can have my own idea in my head of like what I want to do with the session and what to work on. But then sometimes clients come in and they've had like a really terrible week. So then that's what our focus is on. So yeah, right.
Right
Yeah.
out the window.
But
Yep.
it's like if I was to no, we need to work on this. So it's like, oh, it sucks that you've had a crappy week, but we need to get back to this. It would just like, I feel like the person sitting across from me would be like, whoa, right?
Absolutely.
Versus just like meeting them where they're at and being present with them. And, oh my gosh, the amount of clients I have that apologize too for things that, and I'm just like, no,
I'm sorry. I have to. I'm like, I always say, it's your hour.
Yeah.
You tell me what we're going to do,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're in charge. I'm like, don't apologize to me. Like this is,
Life happens.
yeah, like, yeah. So yeah, presence for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Planning versus intuition.
Planning. Planning. Yeah. I feel like, although our intuition can be right sometimes, I feel like planning is, yeah, the way to go.
See, for every one of those, I'm not looking at Lily right now because I would go both.
No, now you made me feel like I did it wrong.
No, you didn't. I do it wrong.
Oh.
It's called this or that for a reason. And I'm always like, Lily, both.
I mean, you definitely stumped me on some of them, but okay, yeah, I was focused on the task at hand, which was like picking one or the other.
Because that's what you're supposed to
And
do.
usually I would overthink it, and then I'd be like, but I feel like I was good that time.
You were very good. I would be like, yeah. Oh, well, I am who I am. All right, round 5.
Okay.
The personal side of the player. So we're going to step off the field for a minute.
Oh, geez, all right.
All right?
Yep.
What do you do to take care of your mental health?
Oh, that's a great question. This is a work in progress. I feel like I've definitely gotten better at my work-life balance and being able to like shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like working in the office, because I kind of like to say, okay, everything stays here, and then once I leave the front door, that's like me time. I would say one thing that brings me a lot of joy that helps with my mental health is spending time with my nephew and my 2 nieces. And then I've also just recently started to just like engage in some more like reading. Sometimes I'll do some like coloring, or I like listening to podcasts, like little things like that, just to kind of like unwind a little bit. Yeah, so just like little things, I guess. And then I do a little bit of journaling to help. And no shame, I do see my own therapist for,
Absolutely.
just to talk things through, and I find that helpful too. So yeah, kind of like a mix of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever experienced burnout personally, and what did you learn from it?
Yes, I feel like I did. I feel like I feel like it's happened a few times. As my boss is nodding her head. Yes. So, what was the second part that I've experienced?
What did you learn from it?
What did I learn? That I'm no good to anybody if I burn myself out. So, yes, I've experienced burnout a few times, and it's not a obviously good place to be. It can be hard to bounce back from, and yeah, it doesn't just affect like obviously work, but it affects all aspects of your life. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely always been the person who I feel like I need to like pour into everyone else, but I've realized like if I don't pour into me, then I'm no good to really anybody. And I always want to show up the best that I can for the people in my life personally, and then also my clients. So if I'm like wearing myself thin, then I can't be showing up the best that I can for everybody. So
Absolutely.
like one thing would be that, like an example would be when I was like burning myself out, I'd be more like tired and irritable. And so then if my nephew or my nieces wanted to do something, I didn't always want to like engage necessarily. And that to me is like a big no-no. So, yeah, I want to be present for like everybody in my life. So
Yeah, there's a reason why I tell all you guys to take the Friday off before a long weekend, and we do retreats and stuff like that, because when you're in the helping profession, you want to help, and so often that's at the expense of your own mental health. So, yes.
Yes, or your little text message say, like, make sure you take some time for self-care on this long weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I did that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
happy Easter. Take care of you.
Yeah.
Self-care. Yeah, have fun with your peeps.
Yes.
All right. What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
That I'm a huge introvert. Yes. I feel like I get that reaction often actually if I ever do share with somebody that I'm introverted and that I'm actually quite shy and socially anxious. I feel like people, like, even I said it to Kyla one time when we were first kind of getting to know each other, and I said to her, I'm like, I'm actually one of the most like socially anxious people and not super confident. She's like, shut up. I was like, she's like, you come out here, and she's like, I've seen you interact with people, and she's like, you're so confident. And I'm like, no, like, I mean, because I'm in my professional role, but anyways, I feel like people would be surprised to know that, because then they're also like, well, how can you do this job where you're talking to people all day and be so introverted? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I do it. But I think the other thing people might be surprised to know about me would be, like, I have a very silly, goofy side, and I often, like, oh my god, this is kind of embarrassing, my social anxiety coming out, but one of the things I do with, like, my nieces and my nephew is, like, I talk to them in, like, a British voice, like a really weird, like, British voice, and, like, some of the things I say to them, like, I'm just, like, super, like, silly and goofy and just, like, laugh a lot of the time, which I don't always let people see that side of me.
That's fun.
So it is super fun, and I love it, but yeah.
Can I share something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Absolutely.
Erin was my flower girl at my wedding.
Oh, yes.
Her and her sister.
Yes.
Now, the marriage didn't last, but Erin's still in my life. So,
Yes.
I've known Erin since she was just an itty bitty, but, and her sister, was it 3 days before the wedding, cut her bangs. I think she was like 2. Cut her bangs like right to her scalp, all of them off. And Erin's mom called me freaking out. And so I was not a bridezilla. I was like, meh. So we just put little Velcro flowers here, and it looked like we had pulled her hair back and just put Velcro flowers there. So, So that's something people would be surprised to know about you.
Yeah. Yes, I
Cute
feel like there are some
flower girl.
I feel like there definitely are some people that get because who was it that I said I'd been in like well, it's Allison's now, but like when we had the Christmas in July at the pool, and
at
I
the
was
pool,
like, oh yeah, I was like, I was here, and I can't
Oh yeah,
remember
because I got married in my parents' backyard.
Yeah. But I can't remember who it was that was surprised, but they were like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, well, I was in Christine's wedding like all those years ago that was here, and they were like,
2000.
what?
It was in 2000, August 2000.
Oh my gosh.
You're old.
Hey. Some of my clients tell me I look like I'm 18, so.
Yeah, well, some tell me I do too. So we know that they're just making us feel good. I'm just teasing. You are young.
I know, I'm just bugging.
You were my flower girl. That tells how much older I was. All right. So the last one. What's one life lesson OT has taught you personally?
That if you are creative, flexible, and you work hard, you can overcome any challenge in life.
All right. There you go. I was going to say what's one message you want every listener to hear today, but that was it.
That's one.
All right. All right. So final round.
Okay.
This is kind of where we bring it all together, the mental playbook. What's one mindset shift that can change everything? I think you just said it actually, but.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I would say believing in yourself and knowing that it is within you to be able to overcome, even your most difficult days.
If someone feels overwhelmed and stuck, where should they start?
I would say pause, take a nice deep breath, build yourself up with some kindness and some self-compassion, and just tackle one thing at a time, whatever it is that you are needing to do in that moment, or just like kind of that mentality of like one foot in front of the other, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. That was a good answer. We always have to start.
I feel like I learned from the best, so.
Look at you, sucking up to the boss. I mean, I think that's what I say to all of you as well, right? Like when you guys come to me and you're like, oh, and you have all these ideas for a client, I'm like, start at the baseline, start at the beginning. What's one thing, or, you know, what's one barrier, or we have to start. I think that human nature is we want to jump right in and figure it all out. We're instant gratification.
Yeah.
The society is so that we want, you know, if it's losing weight, we want to lose the 20 pounds in 2 weeks so that we can, you know, if it's building muscle, we want to be like ripped. If it like that, you know, if it's learning something, I don't want to put the effort. We just, you know, but we have to start, and nothing's going to come without hard work. And you've worked very hard to get to where you are, both personally and professionally. So, all right, game recap.
Oh gosh.
It's not much of a game recap. Yeah, it's just, it's not a recap at all. But it's just a reminder that life doesn't need a complete overhaul, right? It's sometimes you just need to start with one step, a better play, a better, you know, take a time out when you have to. Even children can get burnt out. So parents, keep that in mind too, that I understand you want to make sure your kids are in activities and they're active, but their brains aren't developed. They need some downtime too. And if you add in pushing them as well, they're going to burn out. So, yeah. All right. That was fun. It was nice not being in the hot seat for a change, and putting someone else in the hot seat. And yeah, I got a little bit like there for a little bit, but I think, well, I mean, I saw the look on Lily's face too when we were talking about it. And so I think that it's a general thing. But anyway, we're not going to go back into that. Thank you so much for being on. That was fun. How was it? Were you okay?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I was nervous coming in because when you said to me, you don't know the questions, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm prepared, like, but no, it was actually good. It's good.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
We got to know you a little bit more too, and what you do for yourself as well. To everyone listening, take what you learned today and run with it. See, look at me with all my little sports analogies. All right, so we're going to wrap up. And as always, take care of you. That's it for today's episode of The Mental Playbook with Christine Dalgety. Remember, the work doesn't end because the episode does. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of these conversations. If you're enjoying the podcast, please rate and follow us on Spotify. It helps us grow and reach more people who might need this too. And don't forget, take care of you.